Yeah, folks, Quill18 here, bringing you another League of Legends commentary. This time I will be playing as Sivir, and in this commentary we're going to be looking at two things. One, I am trying a completely different Sivir build than usual. Two, teamwork and lack thereof. So, someone on their team in this game, I don't remember who, it's been a while since I played this, had a smite, and so they were obviously going to be jungling. So, I spent like the first minute of the game trying to convince people to come over to the blue buff to gank them because they were probably going to come this way, or at the very least steal their blue buff. And first they didn't come, they all went to their separate lanes, so I was like, yay, teamwork! And then finally they come here, and they actually jump in the brush like too early. You want to stay hidden right up until the 2-minute mark. That way you're less likely to give away your position. In this case it didn't matter so much because it didn't look like anyone came. But still, it was like not entirely awesome. So, whatever. Anyway, we're going to split up now. And yeah, oh, that was the other thing. They killed all the mobs. When you take out a buff or any creep spawn on the opposite team's side, you should always leave one minion behind so that the whole spawn doesn't respawn, so the minions don't come back. That way they won't be able to get their blue buff. They'll go to get their blue buff at some point, and they'll just be like one little dude there, and they'll be like, crap! Then they'll kill it, and then you're going to have to wait 5 minutes for the blue buff to respawn. So that's just a little bit of strategy, as we say in the industry, about taking out that buff. Now, I am not a pro at this game. I don't pretend to be a pro at this game in any way whatsoever. You know, especially not at actually playing. I think I may be slightly better at theory crafting than the actual playing part, but I'm, you know, going to fully admit that I suck on many levels whatsoever. But that seems like fairly basic advice that is going to be pretty reliable at the lower to mid levels of play, which is where most of us play at. And anyway, it was a little frustrating there. So that's number one, is just to talk and QQ a little bit about teamwork. The second thing is, yeah, I'm trying a different kind of Sivir build. So, you know, I'm online, I've been playing Sivir again because they changed her Q and a few things, and I've always liked her. I always think she's a really strong character that's underplayed. You know, not the strongest of characters, she doesn't have CC, she doesn't have a tremendous amount of burst damage early on, but when she can get her farm on, she can push like crazy and do actually considerable amount of AoE damage in a team fight, despite the fact that she doesn't have a true AoE. So I've always been a fan of her, and so I've been playing her lately, and someone, I can't remember who, I very much apologize, someone saw that I was playing Sivir, and had messaged me to say, hey, I got a build that, you know, you might want to try for Sivir. So I said, and it was a viewer of my channel. I was like, oh cool, what is it? And they said, Warmogs and Atmas. And I said, yeah, okay, that's very funny, haha, funny joke, yeah, I don't think so, I'm not going to be trying that build, like... But, you know, good try, nah, good try. Especially, I mean, you know me and my Warmogs. Now, they've changed Warmogs lately, so it's actually quite a bit better of an item, because you get more up front. But it didn't seem like a very good build. And then, afterwards, I'm hanging out in some of the chat channels, and maybe even there was a post on one of my videos here that said, hey, have you tried the Warmogs Atmas build yet on Sivir? And it was like, and this is a completely different person. In fact, I think 3 people in general brought this up to me, and I said... Are you serious? Is this a real build? Alright, I guess I've got to try it. So this is me trying this build in this game. As you can see, I started off with a regrowth pendant, which does hurt... Yeah, I screwed up my spell shield there. Which does hurt my mana regen at first. Normally I like to take a Mechie pendant so that I can spam my boomerang more often. But I've been thinking about this in general, and I've been thinking that starting off with heavy ricochet might actually be slightly easier in the beginning. You can see here I'm going back quite early. I like to do this as Sivir as soon as I get my first push on, and I've got some time to breathe before anyone will get back to my tower. I blue pill back to my base, pick up the Mechie pendant, and I've got teleport up, so I can just teleport back to the fight whenever. Sometimes I teleport back to the minions, but sometimes I don't, it just depends on the risk. So here I played it safe, went to the tower, and I bought a vision ward, which I'm going to drop off right here, because they did have a jungler, right, which is the whole blue buff thing that started off with. And looking at the mini-map, yeah, it looks like there's someone missing. I'm thinking, is it Shaco? I haven't been paying attention here. I don't even know if I hit the tab screen at any point. Nice spell shield there to block the ultimate from Kog'Maw. Yeah, so, item, like, I don't know, this build. So the idea with this build is, Obviously, you're going to be a much slower start. Oh, or what was I still talking about? Ricochet. I'm sorry, I'm all over here. I knew there was a point that I was still on. So yeah, lately I've been thinking that starting with heavy Ricochet might be a better idea because people have gotten pretty good about dodging Sivir's boomerang. You can't really dodge Ricochet. Once you get a few ranks in there, you're going to be pretty reliably sniping people for a tiny bit of damage here and there, and you just start pushing like crazy. Now, pushing like crazy is not always a good thing. But in this particular situation, it seemed to be working out. So because I'm using Ricochet instead of Boomerang, I don't need as much mana regen. Because you do use a tiny little bit every time you Ricochet, and of course I'm still using my Boomerang from time to time, and my Spell Shield from time to time. Oh, it's Warwick. He's not level 6 yet, so it's not particularly scary. But, so it means I need far less mana regen, which means I don't have to start with a Meki Pendant, can start with the Regrowth Pendant, which means I can stay in the lane very, very effectively for a long time. I don't have to worry about being harassed quite as much because I get so much health back. It's really... I gotta be really careful here with Warwick because if he happens to level up, he can instantly ult on me, and that could be really bad. I'm not sure if Spell Shield blocks that, and even if it did, I'm not sure if I'd be able to, you know, reliably predict when he's going to fire it off. Looks like our Rammus got first blood. That's real nice. Yeah, so the build itself, the idea is you get the Warmogs because, of course, Sivir can farm really well. She's definitely going to max out the Warmogs. That's not a concern. And it helps now that Warmogs is a much higher base amount. Sivir's always been rather squishy. She gets some amount of survivability early on via her Spell Shield, but later on it really doesn't matter too much. In teamfights, she's going to be targeted by too many things at once. She's pretty vulnerable to physical attacks unless she's moving and gets the dodge bonus. So the hit points help a lot, and then you can bring that into an Atma's, which gives you 2% of your max health as damage. And I seem, with the Warmogs, I seem to be well over 3,000 hit points once I get to level 18, which means over 60 extra damage from the Atma's bonus. So that's not a bad amount of bonus. And of course the armor gives you a little bit of survivability, the crit gives you a little bit more damage. So overall it becomes an acceptable damage item, and you get an acceptable amount of hit points. Now, if this were sort of pre-made 5 versus 5 higher elo ranking games, I don't think that this build is necessarily viable. But in pubs where things are a lot more disorganized, so often having a tanky build works really, really well. The only time you can get away with a non-tanky build is when you're pure support and you're going to be way behind the front lines, or if you're absolutely crushing everyone and you've been fed like crazy, because then you're always going to have a level advantage and a hit point advantage that way, and you're just going to do so much damage that people are going to die too fast. Ooh, Spell Shield, another ultimate there. Very nice. So yeah, in, you know, solo queue or duo queue, or even 5-on-5 but really low ranking games like what I would get into, because I'm not, you know, I'm not a huge pro, it is certainly viable, and it actually ends up being quite nice. So with that, after this game, I've gone on and played several other games. I'm not sure what my build is exactly in this game. Oh, we got a ping here. Galio's going to try and come in and do a gank. I've got no mana, no health. I'm not entirely sure what we're going to do here, but maybe we can pull it off if he pushes again. I think I'm going to try to bait him out. Yeah, I'm not auto-attacking the minions because I want to let him push a little bit. Okay, time to engage. Gets the ultimate off. Trying to do the damage. Oh, God. Oof. That was tight. I'm not sure if I did that the greatest I could have, but we got the job done, mostly because of Galio, his ultimate and everything, obviously. But, cool. That worked out nicely. So, the build I've been using for this has been, I start with the Regrowth Pendant, then I get Meki Pendant into Tear the Goddess, and then get a Manamune. And somewhere in there I get the boots. But the idea is to start building up the mana pool. It's quite nice. Or I may go Regrowth, Tear the Goddess, finish some kind of boots, go into Manamune, finish the Warmogs, get Atmas, and then you can continue building, you know, some other stuff depending on the situation. Sometimes it'll be a Infinity Edge, especially since you've already got a little bit of crit. Sometimes it might be a Bloodthirster, a Regal's Lantern, a Blood Razor. Sometimes, even though you've got Spell Shield, you're still going to go for a Banshee's Veil if they've got a lot of magic. And then people really hate you because they got to go through 2 bubbles basically. But yeah, it turns out to be not bad. You need to be mid though. for two reasons. One, well, I mean, they're kind of related. At some point, you really have to feed Warmogs. Now, my build, I may get Warmogs a little bit late, but there's still a good chance that I'm still solo mid by the time I finish the Warmog, and at that point you can max out the Warmogs quite quickly. But the more important thing is that a Warmogs and an Atmas and a Manamune, that's a lot of money that you have to get just to complete your core build. You know, until you've got that Atmas, when you're just operating on a, you know, maybe a Tear of the Goddess plus a Warmog, you're not putting up very much damage. You're quite survivable and you can stay in the lane forever, but it does mean that you're not necessarily going to be contributing to team fights, and if team fights have started at that point, you're not really going to be in a very good place. I think I may actually have to run away here. Run away! Oh no! No! What am I doing? Oh! Why did I turn back? Oh. Well, I mean, it's not the end of the world. It's not like you lose anything from dying, except for a little bit of time, and luckily I'm not high enough level for it to be a ton of time anyway. I would have been waiting. You know, I would have had to wait 5 seconds or so to get away from the lizard, plus an extra 8 seconds for the blue pill. And I can spend, and then I'd be shopping for some amount of time anyway, so. Still, God, it made me look pretty stupid there. Teleport's not up, that's a shame. I think we're going to take some beats in the middle tower. Picked up another Vision Ward. Again, with Sivir, I've really discovered, like, Sivir does nothing early game. Sivir is potentially one of the, like, lamest early game characters there is. She does have her spell shield, which gives her more survivability, but other than that, she's really not particularly frightening. She's got no CC and no real burst. She's 100% a late game hero. She needs to farm up. It's critical, so early on, just playing it ultra safe, that is the trick to Sivir. And just dodge the ultimate there. And so buying a few wards is acceptable. It does slow down your farm, of course, but it's much more important just not to die. And your damage scales up pretty well as you level up, so even if you delay your farm a tiny little bit, as long as you survive, you know, in a couple more levels, you're going to be killing things really, really quick anyway, and you're going to be tearing apart an entire creep wave in just a handful of auto attacks in no time at all. You can see here I'm doing my thing, because you can push so quickly as Sivir, and you don't want to overextend yourself, so I developed this pattern pretty quickly where you kill a couple of minion waves, and then you back off, and then you go into the jungle, kill a couple of things there, and just try to keep up that cycle. So, you get a little less XP as Sivir if you got a jungler, but of course having a jungler in your team has all kinds of other benefits, so I don't complain if I've got one. But you definitely want mid, or you can 1 versus 2 as Sivir, it works okay. In fact, then the ricochet starts to be really good because the odds of hitting someone are excellent, and yeah, you can just keep pushing people back over and over and over. Especially with teleport, you do have the luxury of going back early for that Meki pendant, and that makes all the difference. But you never, if anyone else calls mid and there's no jungler and you're going to be stuck in a lane, you know, 2-on-2, then I actually think Sivir's a really bad idea because you won't get enough gold to be useful. Spell shield again. I mean, that ultimate just gets telegraphed so well. You should be able to bubble it most of the time. Although, as I recall, this may have been an AD, a Kog'Maw, and it's actually his auto attacks that were more of a pain. When he hits, he's got a spell that increases his range, I think. I don't really know Kog'Maw, so... And then, yeah, he just starts, like, beating the crap out of me that way. That's annoying, because I don't really have much to do about that. I can't win in a stand-up fight, especially with so late lifesteal, you know. Now, this is not, obviously, this is not the only build for Sivir. It's just one of many that you can do. There's lots of other good early items for her. That new, what is it called? You get 2 longswords plus the 400 gold magic resist item, and it's like a hex drinker or something like that. And every time you get below something like 30% of your hit points, it gives you a shield. Versus spells, something like that. It's really excellent on lower hit point heroes because it's going to proc a lot more often, and you know it's going to protect you against burst damage, which is really the threat when you're low hit points. And I really like it on Sivir. I mean, attack damage is really good on her since it does, her Q scales up with that now. Her boomerang scales up with attack damage. Everyone's MIA right now. It's a little scary. Looks like they may be pushing bottom kind of hard.